our wellness webinar at Capital Integrative Health, also nicknamed Thriving Thursday. So we're back for a regular scheduled time at 12 to 1. And today we have a very special guest, Emil Clark, who's a certified ergonomic assessment specialist. He also is a certified personal trainer and physical therapy assistant. And thank you so much, Emil, for coming on today.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to be talking today about optimizing ergonomics for a healthy workspace. So before we do that, we will go quickly into some of the updates that we do every week at the start of this for Capital Integrative Health. So as most of you probably know already, Maryland, Virginia, and DC, the tri-state area, is open for vaccination for COVID. Now, I think ages 16 and up. I think DC is starting on the 19th, and Maryland, Virginia pretty much have started already. So there's some information there in case you wanted to know the links to sign up for that. I will say one thing. Some people have been asking about the J&J vaccine, which I believe is still being paused right now in the US because of the 6 blood clot effects that happened with women. So my understanding of that is that it is a very rare side effect or rare reaction, but it certainly is something of concern. So that's why the FDA has kind of paused all that. I think mainly if people have any questions about that, just write them in the chat box. But I just wanted to mention that that's happening right now too. We have for the next couple of group health visit series on gut health. Jen and I are going to be doing a series on constipation and on food sensitivities. So you can sign up using the link in the chat. That's on April 20th and April 27th from 1:30 to 2 p.m. And then later this month, we have Dr. Alakaja as well as Marna, our nurse practitioner, talking about women's health, all about women's health. We'll have a panel on there, so that will be really nice. That'll be next Thursday. And then the week after that, my friend Dr. Anu French will be talking about building resilience and avoiding burnout. So that's always a really relevant topic, I think, for all of us here. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Emil now. Welcome, Emil, and thank you so much for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dr. Wang. Let me give me 1 second here. Share this. Share screen. And at the beginning. Are you able to see the screen yet?
Yes, your screen's up.
Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. How are you? Again, this is my my company here, Elevation Health Ergonomics, and my name is Emil. So kind of going into a little bit about me and my background. So my background is in corrective exercise. I'm a specialist in that, expertise in ergonomics, injury prevention, postural correction. And to date, I've actually done over 6,000 ergonomic evaluations over the years. So I've been doing this for quite a while now. Specifically, mostly office probably makes up about 80% of the work that I've done. Then I've also done a lot of warehouse work as well. So like lowering injuries in the I guess the industrial setting. Also healthcare, working with some nurses to lower injuries as well, and also some vehicle ergonomic evaluation. So I'm going to get a little bit more into like specific what ergonomics is in a little bit, but these are pretty much the biggest, the most common settings that I've worked in. I'm a Towson University graduate, so for all the Towson people over there, what's going on? And then I'm a Maryland resident for the last 30 years. So this is my home. So anyway, so it's a little bit about me and a little bit about me and my background. So today I wanted to talk to you again about ergonomics and why it's so important, just overall in your life, and just why it's important for it reducing injuries, and then also just overall overall wellness, right? So I think one of the biggest reasons Dr. Wang wanted to bring me on was just to because so many people are transitioning to working from home, right? So a lot of us worked in the office setting, but now with a majority of a large percentage of people are working home, right? And since then, we're noticing that just through last year, there's a lot of like already we're starting to see an increase in things in public health issues like health declines due to inactivities, things like hypertension are starting to increase, diabetes, like all these common things that common diseases that are associated with sedentary behavior. Right. Also, a lot of stress and mental illness issues have been going up, obviously, due to a lot of the stress that we have going with COVID and everything else going on in the world. A lot of aches and pains and other orthopedic conditions are also increasing. Right. I think a lot of that, again, because we're not moving as much, which I'm going to get into a lot as we go on. And then weight gain, right? So if we're sitting more than ever, we're more inactive now than probably we've ever been in our generation. It's expected for weight gain to go up. So today I'm going to address 3 out of the 4 of these issues today during the presentation. So it should be fun. I thought this picture right here was a really good one, right? It just says, it just shows a lot of what many of us are balancing, right? If you're home, right, you're trying to balance working from home, you're still trying to balance your kids, her daughter sitting sitting on her head. She's still trying to work from her laptop, which is, I mean, it's going to give you poor posture looking down, which I'm going to get into. But I thought it was a great image here to just kind of summarize what many of us are dealing with, including myself, because I do have a 2-year-old, and that's been interesting. Kind of trying to get work done and balance so many different hats. So anyway, let's get going here. So first thing, what is ergonomics, right? A lot of people ask that and don't really have a clear understanding of what that is. So first of all, why ergonomics is so important. Most non-traumatic workplace injuries are caused by faulty repetitive movements that occur in non-ergonomically sound environments. What does that mean? Right. So outside of the normal slip and fall at work, right, and you might break your ankle or twist something. Outside of that, a lot of the vast majority of injuries happen from repetitive stress injuries, right? So things like carpal tunnel from right using a bad mouse, twisting your wrist, bad posture. You might get neck and back issues from sitting at your desk and workstation bad lifting. Maybe you lift something and you hurt your back. So a lot of it comes from our environment and things that we're not doing or doing incorrectly, right? And I'm going to get into against more of those examples in soon as well. So ergonomics is the study of how the body performs work and how adjustment to work demands can prevent these injuries, right? So how the body moves and performs any type of work, whether it be typing, lifting, moving, and how changing your work demands or also the environment can decrease the risk of those injuries. And obviously with injuries, you're going to have more workers' compensation cases and just other problems, time off work, absenteeism, as well as presenteeism as well, right? Which are all not good things. So this is I always like this slide here because when I do this presentation live in person, most people chuckle when they get to this page, right? And I normally ask, say, how many of us are guilty of one of these postures or more of these postures over the last month? And the majority of people raise their hand. Right. Number 1 is my favorite. I always hear people say, for some reason, it just feels so much more comfortable, right? Sitting on your leg like this, right? So I always hear that. And then obviously the number 2, forward leaning. Number 6, forward leaning down to your laptop. A lot of times we're doing this because we're trying to get our eyes the level of the laptop. So we're adjusting to the height of the laptop, as opposed to ergonomics is adjusting your workstation to you. Right? So you want your station to fit you, not you trying to adjust to your workstation, which we're going to get into as well. So anyway, a lot of these are common postures that we have in the office, right? And so just kind of looking at this at a glance, we can kind of start to beginning to see why this over a prolonged period, many hours, 5 days a week, this might not be ideal, right? It could cause problems over years having this kind of poor posture. All right. So if these postures, right, are are with people have all of the equipment that they need in the office and they're still using poor posture. So what happens when we transition home, right? So many of us don't have our ergonomic office chair that our employer provides. We don't have like a designated workstation at home. We don't have a lot of the luxuries we have in the office. So what happens is we create makeshift environments at home. Right. So if there's already issues with having what you need, situation is only going to be worse if you're working from home and you don't have what you need. Right. So again, there's another one here. I normally would ask for engagement. I would say, hey, how many of us are victims of one of these? And I think the majority of us raise our hands. We probably work from our bed at some point. Right. So you can kind of, once you see the red lines here, you can kind of see that twisting. You don't have to be a doctor to recognize that that's probably not good to stay like this for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, right? Number 2, working from a couch. So a lot of us are working from a couch. And even if we have a home workstation, many of us are still kind of leaning over and just kind of staying hunched over our station. And I'm going to get into why that's so bad. Yeah, so these positions are typically held for many hours, which again can create a lot of issues. So the first one is kind of getting into working from the couch here. So if you see this gentleman at number 2, so if he's working from this chair, and if you can see, he's getting stopped by the front end of the chair here, so he can't sit all the way back into the chair. That's a common issue that I'll see when I do my ergonomic evaluations for people who are working from home. So if you look at here, this young lady here on the left, if the chair is stopping you, right, it's impossible to sit all the way back into the chair. So you're gonna have this gap here in your lower back, right? And why is that so bad? Because you're unable to sit with the normal curve of your spine. So if you look at the image here on the right, so when you sit, your body should maintain that S curve. This is why we always hear lumbar support, right? Lumbar support is very important in order so you can kind of create that S-shaped curve when you're sitting, right? Because what happens, we're seeing in this middle picture, is your lower back kind of collapses on itself, right? So as opposed to maintaining that natural curve, and that's what happens when your seat pan is too deep. So like it's in number 2 when you're working from the couch. Most couches, they make this bottom seat part so too deep, so it's impossible to sit all the way back, right? So that could be a problem. I recently just got back from Liberia. I just took a flight, and my back for the first few hours on the plane was killing me. And I thought about something. Why am I not practicing what I preach, right? So it's like a lot of it is the seat that I'm sitting in. So the little pillow that United Airlines gives you, which is pretty flat, but anyway, I just folded that pillow and I put it in my lower back while on the plane, right, as opposed to just sitting straight. And I put that on my lower back, relaxed a little bit, and within 10 or 15 minutes, my lower back pain kind of decreased and subsided. And that's because I was giving myself this kind of support in my lumbar, and just made me feel so much better on the plane. So little something to try. Anytime we're flying, put a pillow in your lower back while you're flying, and you'll probably notice your back won't hurt as much, especially after sitting after so many hours. My flight was 6 hours, 2 flights of 6 hours. So and that really worked. So anyway, say all that to say lumbar support is really important. Hopefully this visual helps you to understand why you need that lumbar support. Good. So going now into also some other common mistakes that I've seen, just as far as in our workstation, in our environment. I know the majority of us, now that we're working from home, are using our laptop and placing it on our desk surface, right? This is probably the most common. Excuse me. This is the most common postural and ergonomics mistakes that I see, right? Working from a laptop. So working from a laptop is there's no possible way to have good posture working from a laptop unless you have additional tools. Because what happens, again, we're naturally, regardless if we realize we're doing it or not, we're gonna hunch over because we're trying to get our eyes leveled with the height of the laptop screen. And if you're using your laptop right now, you're probably doing it right now. If you have your laptop on your desk, you'll probably notice that you feel really tempted to lean forward and hunch over in order to see your laptop, right? So again, a simple solution for that. And that throws off everything, because this is going to give you neck issues, back problems, all types of stuff you're going to feel, or it can give a lot of these issues. So on the right, so the simple solution, you want to get a laptop stand, or immediate solution. If you're working from home today, you can just put your laptop on a shoebox or something, anything to raise your laptop to eye level so you're looking straight forward as opposed to hunching and looking down. And you would use a separate keyboard and a separate mouse. If you want a recommended laptop stand or ergonomic keyboard, feel free to contact me. I'm going to give my handles at the end of this. But yeah, so it's important to just make sure, raise the general rule of thumb, raise your laptop to eye level, and then use a separate keyboard and mouse and put it on your desk surface. It seems like something so little, but it makes a huge difference. Huge difference. All right, so let's try to raise that laptop up. All right, so I'm just gonna run through this really quickly because I know I'm a physics geek, but I know a lot of people hated physics. But I think it's important to just understand briefly what's going on a lot of times and why posture is so important. So if you imagine, right, this yellow line here is gravity acting upon us, right? Your head is like a bowling ball. So if you're leaning forward, like this gentleman here in the left, right, trying to level your eyes with the laptop, right, and gravity is pulling you towards the earth, right, your lower back is constantly holding that contraction, trying to pull you back, because if you cut your lower back muscles off, you would just fall forward, right? So like you're constantly activating that lower back muscles, trying to hold yourself back up. So seeing this image here, you can probably see now why, if you're like this for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, then you add stress and other factors, you can imagine why that may not be best for you. All right. So again, it's like, I'm not saying that this is the cause of your lower back pain, because there could be so many different things going on, but I would definitely say your environment and your posture could be a contributing factor. Okay, so it's important to make sure we're sitting back and watch this forward lean, not leaning over like this. Now, conversely, on the other end, I've seen this often too. So if you're leaning back into your chair, I see this often when people are sitting with their chair back unlocked, right? So your chair back is unlocked, so you're leaning backwards. And so now the opposite happens. Now you have to activate your hip flexors. Now you have to activate your abs in order to pull your body forward, because if not, then you're going to lean backwards, right? Because again, gravity is acting upon you, pulling you downwards, right? So you want to, so a general rule of thumb, again, you generally, if you want more support, you want to lock your chair back upwards, as opposed to keeping your chair back unlocked throughout the workday. Now, of course, you want to open it for a little bit and just move a little bit. That's fine. But generally, the more support you have, the less your back muscles and your body has to work. Okay, so hopefully everyone is following me so far. Good. So now this is one of my favorite questions here. People always ask, can you recommend a good chair? All right. So this is the anatomy of a good chair. I know Dr. Wong, I was recommended a couple of chairs for you. And so one of the things that I always tell people, in general, the more adjustable features, the better, right? Because chairs should not be one size fits all, because we all have different heights, we have different widths, right? So you want the more adjustable features, the better. So like a good chair, right, it's going to have adjustable lumbar support, right? You can raise it up or raise it down based on where your lumbar, where that curve in your lower back is. So, right, you want something that you can adjust up and down. You want the arms to be able to go up and down, forward and back, inside and outside, right? Because people have different widths. You want the seat pan, right? That I remember I harped on that seat pan earlier. You want the seat pan to be able to pull out, make it longer for taller people, or shorter, or make it deep or less deep for shorter people, right? So you want that to be adjustable. You want to be able to height of the chair to be able to raise up and down. So you just want a lot of adjustable features. And I'm going to get more into proper fitting soon, but pretty much the more adjustable features, the better. Okay, so that you can fit it properly for your size. All right, so now, so I kind of went into the two right ones, why posture is so important, why ergonomics and sitting with good posture is important. The one on the left is a kind of a general idea of what you want. So, right, if you're sitting properly, right, kind of everything nice and stacked, your ears above your shoulders over your hips. And so obviously you have a curve in your spine, but this is a general, kind of a general visualization here of why of how sitting nice with good posture is going to put less stress and also causes less muscles to be activated for a prolonged time period. All right. So kind of getting now specifically into how we want to adjust our stations. All right. So proper seat height. When you're seated, this far one in the far left, this is going to be too low, right? So you never want your seat, your bottom to be lower than the height of your knees, right? That's going to, again, can cause some lower back issues and discomfort, right? You don't want it to be too high either. This one here, second from the right, if the chair is too high, that can also cause an issue. So generally you want a 90 degrees in your hips, 90 degrees in your knees. That's how you know that you're at the right height on your chair. Okay, so hopefully you're making these adjustments if you're seated at your desk right now. So hopefully you're making these changes. So 90 degrees in your knees, 90 degrees in your hips, 90 degrees in your elbows. So 90 degrees is a nice stable angle. All right, so you want to kind of have that your elbows the height of the keyboard, everything nice and 90 degrees. That's what you want. Same thing when you're standing. You want to have your elbows around 90 degrees as well at the height of the keyboard. So that's how you want to adjust your height. If you're sitting too low, sitting too high, your feet are floating. Like this, the first two, you see their feet are off the ground. If your feet are floating, so if you're one of the shorter people, or height challenge, should I say, and your feet are floating, that's one of the really bad things for your back. Okay, so you want to make sure your feet are resting on a stable surface. Um, and so if your feet can't rest on a stable surface, maybe you have to raise your chair up to the desk. Then you want to get a footrest. That's where footrest comes in. All right, but you always want to have your feet stable on a stable surface. Okay, awesome. Now, getting more into more adjustments. So you always want your eyes the upper 1/3 of the laptop of your screen. Okay, eyes leveled with the upper 1/3 of your laptop screen or your computer screen is what you want. So whether you have to raise it up or raise it down, if you wear progressive or bifocals lenses, then you're going to be a little lower than that, right? You're going to have your eyes. You're gonna have the monitor a little bit lower, and the reason for that is because the reading pane in your glasses generally are at the bottom half of your lens. So one of the most common issues, if you feel tempted to raise your head up when you're looking down through your glasses, a lot of times that's happening because you're trying to look through the bottom of your lenses. I'll have clients that wear progressive bifocals lenses, and when I take a picture of them at the workstation when I'm doing my ergonomic evaluation, they won't realize, but they're holding their head up like this. And I'll show them, I say, did you know that all day long you're extending your neck up like that? And they'll say, I don't know why. Like, for some reason, my neck just hurts. And they're like this all day long, right? So you can imagine, again, if you're holding your head extended, even if it's only a little bit of an extension, but again, it's that repetitive nature, and that prolonged time, that frequency and duration that and holding your neck extended can cause a lot of issues. So again, lower the monitor, eyes level with the upper 1/3 of the screen. You want your elbows to be 90 degrees, the same height of the keyboard, right? Generally. And again, there's a lot of different, this is just a general kind of guide here, because obviously if your table's not adjustable height or your chair's not adjustable, then you have to look into some other things like adjusting the chair and so forth. But this is kind of the general guide that you want. Feet resting on the ground, elbows 90 degrees. All right. So now in the middle one, where do you put your zone of use? So where do you put all the tools that you use? So if you're right now sitting at your workstation, you want in your frequent zone, you want to have your laptop and your your keyboard and your mouse, because these are the tools that you're going to use most frequently, right? Less frequently in the middle zone, you're going to have things like documents. If you refer to a lot of paper documents, you're going to have that in that zone. Your rare zone is going to be if you rarely use the phone. If any items you use less frequent, you're going to put that further away. Now, the goal is to decrease reaching, right? So like if you use your phone often, then you'll want to pull it closer. But again, you always want to think that repetition, right? If you're often reaching for your phone and overreaching, especially if you're reaching out to the side frequently, say if my job task was to use the phone often and I'm always reaching far out to the side, which I've seen, and people are always doing this. I've seen a lot of people get rotator cuff issues because you're sitting there, your muscles are cold, and you just randomly just reach out to the right, reach out to the right, reach out to the right. It's not ideal. So generally our body's nice to be centered, nice close, keep things close to midline. So reaching for something here is going to be a lot less stressful than reaching to the side. All right. Also, reaching the closer that you have to reach is going to be less stress than reaching far. Right. So again, it's that repetition, repetition, repetition. So that's why when I do my ergonomic evaluations, I always ask people, how often do you use the phone? How often do you refer to documents? Because that's going to determine where you need to position certain things on your workstation. Again, it's like it'll be minor things, but it's that repetitive nature over and over and over and over that adds up over 30, 40, 50-hour work weeks, week after week after week after week after week, and kind of wear down a lot. Okay, I hope everyone is following so far. Good. All right, so now kind of getting into documents. If you use a lot of documents, you want to position your documents in line, right? So if you don't want to kind of going back to that, keeping everything centered, you don't want to look towards the left and always be twisting your neck, right? So ideally, put your document and get a document holder, which can angle the document towards you as opposed to putting it flat on your desk surface and constantly you're kind of leaning, looking down this, constantly doing this, constantly doing that. I've seen that cause a lot of issues with people who will refer to a lot of paper documents. So again, when I do my ergonomic evaluations, I always ask, how often are you referring to paper documents? If you're doing that often and you're putting it down on the table to your side, that means you're doing this often, right? As opposed to if you just put the document on a document holder, so you can just use your eyes, you look at the document and you can continue to type, right? So that's the images here on the left. If you write often, there's different tools that you can add so that you're not reaching when you're writing. I often see this upper right-hand corner of this lady here. So I often see this people who refer to a lot of documents to push their keyboard forward and have the paper right there. Many of us on this call are probably guilty of this. I see this often, but you actually want to alternate that. You want to bring the keyboard closer and put the document further out and put it on a stand, right? And angle it for you towards your eyes. All right, so that's more of what you want. Good. So just wrist positioning. So you want to try to keep your wrist straight as opposed to twisting your wrist in and out. Because one of the most common issues that I see for people who have been doing office work for a long time is carpal tunnel. A lot of that happens because we are twisting our wrist and so forth and extending our wrist. And we can fix that by making sure our desk and our keyboard is at the right height. Also, making sure we're using proper keyboard. There's ergonomic keyboards, ergonomic mice that you can use. If anyone is having a lot of like wrist or hand issues, please feel free to contact me, and I can recommend some keyboards or mice for you. But yeah, because this is a lot of wrist and hand issues happen, just because again our stations are not set up correctly. All right, so now kind of getting into the movement part. Again, of course, our bodies are made to move. It's important that we're making sure that we're moving often. Right? That's the other part of what I do. I help people move more. So some sedentary trends. So while Americans, I thought this was an interesting fact, Americans are sitting 4 hours more now than they did prior to the pandemic. Right? So we're sitting significantly more, which makes sense, right? A lot of things are closed. There's a lot less to do. We're working from home. So we're just sitting a lot more, right? And so I thought this was also interesting statistics. Physical activity among those who were previously active has dropped by 1/3. So if you did work out often before, now those people, again, your activity has decreased a lot. And now you have easy access to all our snacks and our food right in your kitchen counter, pantry. Just walk around the corner. So again, we're beginning to see why all the perfect formula, right, for a lot of health issues, right, as we're working from home. Okay. So prior to the pandemic, 300,000 Americans died per year due to inactivity and other controllable lifestyle factors. This is expected to be a significant uptick in this. All the data isn't out yet, but we're already starting to see, again, increase in weight gain, back pain, and other orthopedic conditions, diabetes, mental health issues, premature death, cancer. A lot of these things are well known and researched, and we know that that sedentary lifestyle contributes to these issues like heart issues, stomach sitting too much contributes to obesity, colon cancer. These are all things that that are well researched and we know, right? If you have any, if you get swelling in your legs, right, sitting too long can contribute to that. Blood clots can contribute to just sitting and not moving and getting that circulation. So I'm kind of being a dead horse here, but pretty much we got to move more, right? And there was already a big issue previously to the pandemic, and now since we're even more inactive than others than ever, right? There's going to be even more issues right now. So there's really a big problem going on behind the scenes, like, and a lot of health experts are saying that there's going to be a second pandemic, like just from sedentary lifestyle. In addition to the current pandemic, there's going to be another pandemic just of other health problems because we're just inactive. All right. So with that being said, I want everybody to stand up for a second. I'm just gonna have you move a little bit, especially if you've been seating. I know I can't see you, but you can see me. I'm just gonna run you through a couple of light movements here that should help you to just kind of that you can do during the workday. And I have a whole bunch of different ones. When I do my ergonomic evaluations, I recommend different exercises, but this is some things that you can do. So the first one is shoulder rolls. So I say in the reverse position, you're just gonna reverse your shoulders. All right, so do shoulder rolls, reverse your shoulders, and get a good squeeze in the back when you're doing this, right? Why is this such an important exercise? Because if you think about it, when you're at your workstation, you're always rounded, right? So your pecs get really tight because you're sitting rounded at your desk like this. And so these pecs are gonna get really tight and neck is gonna get really tight. So you just want to open up your chest, right? So you want to rotate them backwards. Another thing you could do is just pull your shoulders back, squeeze your shoulder blades together, hold those for 5 or 10 seconds. That's going to be another good posture exercise, right? And the whole idea is you want to counterbalance what it is that you're normally doing. So if you're sitting here rounded like this, you want to pull your shoulders back, right? Be aware of that posture. Number two is a piriformis stretch. You can kind of sit and pull that forward. Number three, the one on the far right, is going to be a chin tuck, right? So if we're always sitting here with the forehead posture, and we all do it, all of us, I have to even remind myself often to fix it, but we're always sitting like this. So you want to tuck your chin down and pull it backwards, right? So pull it back, activate those neck flexors, and get to the ears above your shoulders, right? So and hold that for 5 or 10 seconds, and then relax. You can probably do that like 10 times. Hold it for 10 seconds each, right? So I got a whole desk exercise routine that when I do my ergonomic evaluations, I give like my favorite 8 exercises to do. I like to tell people to break up in the middle of your workday, just do like this posture routine, and that helps to just again to activate the correct muscles and counterbalance the effects of what you're doing, poor posture that many of us have. At the bottom here, it says all sedentary postures will eventually hurt, right? Sitting or standing. So even if you apply all of the ergonomic principles and set up your workstation correctly, like I'm saying right now, if you're sitting too long, you still will eventually start to ache, right? And the reason for that is because we, as human beings, we're not made to sit as much as we're sitting, right? We're sitting in the car to work. If we're even leaving the house, we're sitting while we're working. We're sitting. We come home and sit. We're sitting at lunchtime. Like the majority of us sit so much, right? And so our bodies are made to move, not sit. So I always tell people every 30 to 45 minutes, try to take a stand-up break. You can get up and move. I'm going to go over some ways to do that. Complete counterbalance stretches throughout the day. So there's a bunch of different counterbalance stretches that you can do. Again, please feel free to contact me if you want those. And then also remember 20. So every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. What that is, because our eyes have muscles behind them as well. So our eye muscles get tired looking at the computer all day. So that's going to cause a lot of issues. So looking at something 20 feet away is going to rest our eye muscles as well. So which can lead to, because kind of staring at that screen for so long can lead to a lot of headaches and lead to a lot of eye strain and so forth. So if you're one of those people, you get a lot of headaches, try just looking away from the monitor, look at something about 20 feet away and rest those muscles. So that's something to give a shot. Excuse me 1 second. Just going to drink. Awesome. So now I always hear people say, Emil, I always, I get so into my work that before I even know it, an hour or two has passed, right? And I've been sitting for too long. So these are some reminders here. So these are some break reminder apps that you can get. So for iPhone, I like the stand up app. This is what it looks like, the symbol. For Android, I like this one. It's called Break Reminder. This is the one that I often recommend. And if you have a smartwatch, you can set it to also remind you, which is another big thing. I definitely recommend getting a smartwatch. And you can get these on Amazon for $25, $30. You don't have to pay much. But it's really important to count your steps because we're supposed to get 10,000 steps a day. But you'll be surprised how few steps you're getting, especially if you're one of those people working from home and you rarely leave the house. You're probably getting 1,000 or 2,000 steps a day. And again, is you can imagine that repetitive 1,000 or 2,000 steps a day when you're supposed to get 10,000, but doing it every day after day after day. Again, we're starting to again see how this adds up. It can cause a lot of health problems, right? So my big thing is pushing prevention. All right. So normally again when I do this live or I have I'm able to, or even if doing it virtually, I normally would have people kind of unmute their phones, and I like to get you engaged here to test your knowledge. But I'm just gonna run through it here. So in general, I like this lady here on the left, I would normally say right now, hey, can you spot some of the issues? And so obviously for her, it's gonna be one, her feet are floating, right? So she definitely would want to add a footrest because that can give you a lot of back issues. The ground gives you support, right? You want, she's probably having some wrist issues because look at the corner of this desk that's compressing on her wrist, right? So the desk is too high. Remember that desk should be rested. Your elbow should be at 90 degrees. So the desk is going to be too high, right? She's sitting with a forehead. And what's going on up top here at her head and shoulders and hips is probably coming from what's happening down here, right? So if she had a footrest and lower the desk, she would not feel so tempted to lean forward and hunch over like this because the monitor is not at a bad height. So a lot of things that are happening down here is affecting what's going on up here at the top. All right. The guy here on the right, we touched on that a lot already. We've seen him before, right? The laptop is too low, so he would want to raise the laptop to eye level, sit back, watch that forward lean. Okay. Good. So there's a bonus slide here. There's other things to kind of look into. If you use the phone a lot for work, use an earpiece as opposed to cradling the phone between your ear and your head. So it's better to kind of use an earpiece because again, you don't want to sit cradle like that. General sleeping posture here. It's better to sleep on your side than to sleep on your stomach, right? Because if you're sleeping on your stomach, if you think about it, if you're sleeping, your neck is kind of twisted the whole time. So you want to sleep on your side or your back because you're not twisted. Again, this is general rule of thumb here. You always want to consult with your doctor and see if you have like a special condition. But generally, these postures are gonna put less stress on your body. If you're laying on your side, pull a pillow between your knees. Try to keep your pillow. If you want to have a pillow height that's not too high. If your pillow's too thick, you're gonna be like this when you're sleeping, right? Keep bending your neck up. If it's not high enough, if your pillow's too thin, then your neck is gonna kind of drop. But in general, you want to keep your spine nice and straight. For those of us who have kids working from home, they have the same mechanics as us. So if you look at this upper right hand picture here, if your kids' feet are floating, it's not ideal, right? You can get a booster seat as well if your kids are working from homeschooled. You want to use something that's going to raise their elbows to the height of the keyboard, and then add a footrest. You can get a lot of this stuff on Amazon, like a little booster seat that they can put on to raise their height of them, and then also get like a little footrest that you get, or a box underneath their feet. The one here in the middle, making sure you're having good posture when you're driving. If you have to lean too far forward, that means you want to. There's a whole lot of stuff that you can do for kind of adjusting your cabin of your car to kind of make it more ergonomic. But in general, if you catch yourself leaning forward a lot, you might want to push your seat forward because you don't want to reach too far. Bottom right hand, watch good posture when you're lifting. I know a lot of us are spending a lot more time at home now. So if you're lifting your kids, making sure you're bending your knees, lifting properly, because this is a big source of injuries. Again, from my rehab background, I see a lot of injuries have happened just through people repetitively lifting with straight knees. Kind of use your legs more than your knees. And there's a whole nother set of guidelines that we go into for lifting. But again, general rule of thumb, use your legs for lifting. All right, so a little bit more about me and the services that I offer. I do group fitness classes, one-on-ones, fitness coaching, and also ergonomic evaluations. Like I said, my goal is to address both of the issues. One, the sedentary posture, the postures and poor ergonomics that leads to a lot of issues, and also getting people moving more. So I work for a lot of organizations. I'll do like an 8 a.m. workout. Employees would get in who are working from home. They'll log on. You have the option to keep your camera on or off. They'll work out from 8 to 8:30. I'll kick the bus for 30 minutes. I broadcast here from my studio. So we'll get on, work out, and also they will go back in the clock by 9 o'clock. Just get right back on it. So anyways, that's what I do. And in closing, not all sedentary postures are going to, or not all sedentary postures are going to, or I'm sorry, not all employees are going to develop issues from poor ergonomics. You might just feel a little bit uncomfortable. And when you're not comfortable at your desk is too high, then your monitors are above eye level. You're just not going to be as productive as you would normally be, right? You're not going to function at your peak level. And there's a cumulative effect. The more small elements that are wrong, the bigger the overall negative effect is. Sometimes all it takes is making these small corrections to your work environment and a few lifestyle changes to eliminate the soreness and you might feel in your neck or back or hands and after a long day of work. So pretty much just move more, practice better mechanics, and you should notice a lot of things get better. Anyway, so these are my contacts. This is my handles. Hopefully that was helpful, and I would love to take any questions if you have them. So I spoke really fast. Hopefully that wasn't too much of an O-load. I try to get a lot in. I know a lot of people are tight in time.
Thank you so much, Emil. This is so helpful. And actually, during the middle of that, I started to put my laptop on this pillow because I realized that my laptop was too far down, right? So I was doing that cervical forward flexion.
Yep.
So I definitely feel better. My back feels straighter, and I just feel like I don't have that. Not like I have like chronic pain, but it's more like I did feel like, oh, it's kind of straining, right? So over time, over months and years, that can really make a big difference.
Absolutely.
Actually, I even remember when I was at the hospital, I worked at Suburban for 3 years, and I'd never had any back pain or anything. And then when I got to primary care and I was sitting in a chair most of the day, I was telling my wife, like, after like 8 months of that, I was like, well, my kind of starting to feel some back twinges now. Like, so it had something to do with probably being more sedentary. And so if we are going to be sitting more or sitting and standing, we do want to make sure we're ergonomically correct. So this is really, really helpful. Whether we're working or whether we're at home, most people nowadays, we're connected to the internet, we're on computers. So even though ergonomics is about the work environment, it's almost about, completely sort of anyone with a computer is what I would say, or anyone that's doing any sort of sitting.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. That sitting, it was just sitting way too much. Just got to get up, move. The biggest general thing I want people to get is just move more, get up every hour. And then also just be mindful of our posture throughout the day. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And there's actually NASA research on that, how not getting up as many times will lead to these back issues and, back pain and stuff. So they've done some research on the astronauts, I think. So we have a bunch of questions. I wanted to, we have some questions ourselves as well as, so I think first of all, Kathleen mentioned that she's had success with a keyboard and mouse tray that is 5 to 6 inches below the desktop level. I suppose if you are in a position where you're kind of doing this, the keyboard's too high, then people might be getting some problems that way.
Yeah. So let me visualize this. So she's saying that the keyboard
Is
mice tray
below.
is down here.
I think
She's
so.
doing
Yeah.
Interesting. So kind of like from ergonomic principles, we would say that would probably not be ideally in this. And the reason for that is why if your desk is too low, then you're constantly going to have an extension in your wrist, right? So you're going to be here, right? And when the goal is to keep your wrist straight. So this is neutral. If your wrist is straight and you're typing, that's neutral. So if it's too low, you will bend your wrist backwards, right? So I would say generally, based on our trainings, we would say that that would put more stress on your wrist. But
Mm-hmm.
I always like to tell people, hey, if you found out something, these are general, it's not one size fits all. If you have found something that works better for you, do what works for you. Right?
Right,
Do what
right.
feels
And
better
she
for
she
you.
was saying, Kathleen was saying her wrists are straight when she does that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I guess it's probably, um, probably preventing carpal tunnel or various things. But yeah, so I think we have a few other questions. So Patricia's asking about, can you talk about the best posture for the neck? Certainly we know that, especially with all of us with laptops or computers, and in general, right, our head's like 12 pounds, I think, or 12 or 13 pounds. So it's like a bowling ball, right? It's like going like that. So,
Mhm.
so what is the best posture for the neck, and how to encourage good movement in between breaks? Those are like a multi-layered question there.
Good. So generally, the biggest thing I would say is again raising that screen to eye level, having your eyes the upper one third of the screen. So bringing the laptop to you as opposed to you kind of trying to come down to the laptop. That would be number one. So the biggest issues I see with people with like neck and like back kind of discomfort at work. Again, I've done over 6,000 assessments at this point, and the most common thing I would say is the height of that laptop. All right, that's the number one I would say. So raising it to eye level would be number one. And now, as far as you saying how to encourage more movement, was that the other
Movement
part?
and between breaks, yeah,
Between breaks. Okay, so I kind of touched on this a little bit, but I would say one, get a smartwatch that's going to remind you to move every and get up, and you can set it a lot of times for every 30 and 45 minutes to get up and move. You can set your phone a reminder in your phone. You can set a reminder in your on your lap on your computer. So I would say set those reminders because that 45 minutes or that hour goes like this. So I'd say set reminders to move more. And then once you kind of, and then if you do have an Apple Watch, don't ignore it, right? I know a lot of times our watch will go off and we ignore it and we'll ignore it, but actually get up and move when that happens. So I'd say that. So set reminders to get up and move more every hour, and then just even if you just get up for 1 minute, just bounce around, maybe go for a small walk around your house, do some of the exercise that I give. But every hour, just take a minute or two. And a small little point, I always hear people say, well, I feel like if I stop working, I'm going to lose my flow, right? I get into a flow of work. And I always hear people say this. A lot of research, and I can find the article and send it to you, shows that we actually do better when we work in bursts, right? Because if you're
Mm-hmm.
working for hours, your productivity might start like this, but then eventually it's going to plateau because again, you're going to start to get foggy. You've been sitting for too long, right? You're going to start to get like just foggy. You're going to slow down. But a lot of research shows that if we do a burst of work for about an hour, you take a small break and do another burst, and then you take a small break and do another burst. That ends up causing better productivity in general than just working for many long hours.
I would agree with that. And there's a rhythm called the ultradian rhythm that's between 60 to 90 minutes. We have a burst of energy, the cortisol, everything's kind of revved up, and then 30 minutes of rest and recovery and relaxation time is sort of more of an ideal way to work rather than a straight 9 to 5.
Yes.
So that is something that I think we all want to build out here. Jen was asking about the devices you can find online to fix posture, the straps and things like that. I think actually Hiza was saying the straps don't offer much structural fitness to the postural muscles and might even increase muscle and joint sensitivity. So what are your thoughts about those devices?
I would agree 100%. The people that I know that've tried it, and I actually years back I tried it myself just to see, and it made me sore. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I think most of us like in the because essentially if it's like kind of pulling you back, right? I would
Right.
say what's even better is strengthening your muscles itself, right? Becoming more aware of your posture, doing rows and other exercises that's going to help to cause your posture to get better. Pull your shoulders back and strengthen those muscles, strengthen your rhomboids, lower
That
traps.
makes more sense. Plus, the strap's kind of like a crutch, right? If you don't need a crutch, I mean, if you need it, but if you don't, then it's probably better not to. So,
Yes.
great. We have a couple questions too. Some pretty good. So you talked about the simple movements. I think different things to stay active. How often we should get up at least 60, but even 35 to 30 to 40 minutes, kind of along the lines of that ultradian rhythm. If you use a standing desk, because we all know this phrase now, sitting is the new smoking, but maybe standing too long is also the new smoking, right? So how long do you recommend staying standing if you're using a standing desk, knowing that if you stand for too long, then you're starting to get in that static position as well?
So in while getting our certification, they tell you like kind of like 70-30. So like
Okay.
sit 70, stand 30. Or like even if you do 60-40 as well. So like sit 60, stand 40%. But you should sit a little bit longer than you are standing.
I see.
Percent of your
What is the research on that? Have ergonomics researchers looked at things like that, or how do you come up with that number?
So I mean, yeah, that's just what they teach in school. So I would
Okay.
imagine, yeah, they did research and they found out that that's kind of like the
60,
ideal.
70%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do find if I stand too long, I feel like maybe the blood's pulling too much, or the muscle, you're still basically in a static position. So in a way, it's like making sure you're sitting and standing and changing that position relatively often is probably going to mimic more movement anyway.
Yeah, because they said
So
that
that,
standing too long actually has more risk factors than sitting for too long.
yeah, I know. I heard that too. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
to do more research on that. And then any tips on sleeping, like any ergonomics for sleeping, like how, like, should you sleep on a pillow? Should you not sleep on a pillow? There's all this like
I have a
cervical.
full
Oh, you
thing
have
on
a full
it.
presentation? Awesome.
Yeah, I'll just pull up the one slide for you if I can
Okay,
find it
thank you.
quickly. Yeah, but there's a
Oh,
lot of
while you're doing that, what is the maximum time to stand? Lauren was asking, how long can you stand before it becomes the issue?
so again, it goes back to that kind of 70-30, right? So
Yeah.
in an hour, so that would be like what, like you sit for about 60 minutes, stand for about 20 minutes. I'm sorry, sit for about 40 minutes, stand for about 20 minutes. It's kind of that kind
Hmm.
of general rule of thumb, but again, that's kind of general.
Yeah, I would
Everybody's
just
a
say
little
personally, I would say 90 minutes, but that's not based on any research or anything. It's just based on when I start to feel like I need to sit down. But it can be longer than that. I think again it comes down to venous pooling and how is that affecting your muscles and the contraction, the different type of muscle groups you have, and so you really want to just kind of keep moving in a way. So, um, what seat cushion do you recommend while you're looking up that slide there? Is there a
So
certain
seat cushion, like lumbar cushion, or seating for like padding on your bottom.
I guess padding maybe, and then yeah, if you have another one for
So there's
lumbar.
different ones you can get. Like I know, like there's ones that have it's kind of like the donut one that has like the little sacrum part cut
Yep,
out. So
yep.
people have had like that one. So there's like different ones. And there's like just normal little light thin cushions. Those are general. I don't have like a specific one. If someone has like a tailbone issue, then I
Hmm.
definitely go with the donut one.
The
But
donut. Okay.
outside of that, there's like a lot of different ones.
Okay.
And I recommend different ones. So I wouldn't. I mean, try some different ones and see that and see what works for you. But I don't think like that one is so
Hmm.
yeah so
Any
particular.
recommendations? Any recommendations for simple exercises to get blood flow going while you take an active break?
Yeah, I have a whole slide on that as well.
Okay, okay,
So I have the
great.
sleep, this healthy sleep
Okay,
postures pulled up. I want to show you guys this
great.
really
Thank you.
quickly here. So tell me when you can see it. Are you able to see it now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So general rule of thumb, these are some tips here. So if you're sleeping on your side, put a pillow between your knees, and kind of keep you want to kind of keep yourself nice and straight. Ideally, um, generally you don't want to lay on your stomach, if, like in and kind of have that extension. It's better to lay on your back, put the pillow underneath your knees. So if you're laying on your back, put a pillow under your knees. If you're laying on your side, put your pillow between your knees. So those are probably going to be better positions than laying on your stomach. Because if you think about it, if you're laying on your stomach all night long, you're like sitting with your neck twisted all night long. So you might get a little stiff and so forth. So generally, again, your body likes to be nice and aligned. This is a normal anatomical position, right? Your neck likes to be kind of nice and straight and aligned,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to again being twisted for hours and hours and hours, right? So I'd say that if you are laying on your stomach for a short amount of time, you want to put a pillow underneath your waist, right, to kind of stop your back from kind of sinking in.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this was probably my least favorite position. When your pillow height, again, you want to have a pillow. You don't want your neck to kind of sink, so you want to kind of get the right pillow height to where your spine can be nice and aligned while you're sleeping. Again, the bottom left here just says when you're laying on your back, put a pillow underneath your knees. That's gonna help with a lot of lower back discomfort. And this bottom right one here is just like how to get up out of bed. Best way to kind of get up is to kind of come like this. You swing your legs down and stand up. So yeah, these are kind of general rule of thumb. So I'd say if you just kind of want a general rule of thumb, something to remember tonight, probably it's better to sleep on your. Again, these are general guidelines. Again, everybody has different cases. Consult with your doctor. But I would say laying on your side and your back is definitely much better. And put a pillow between your knees when you're laying on your side to kind of keep your hips even, as opposed to kind of from drooping in. And then also, if you're laying on your back, put a pillow underneath your knees. All right.
And
So I
then
said these are probably
yes.
the two best.
Thank you. And Hiza was saying endurance is the key. So the more the body can resist the stresses of sitting or standing, the more you'll be able to sit or stand in any specific amount of consecutive minutes, I think.
Absolutely.
Margaret is saying, oh, Travelon is a mesh lumbar support. Okay, thank you, Margaret. Maybe Jen, you could share that. Well, we're almost up to 1 o'clock, but thank you so much, Emil, for coming on. This has been super helpful. I know everyone's really enjoyed your presentation,
Thank
the
you.
knowledge, and how much passion you bring to this. And we know that this is something that is really often flying under the radar. We're all working, we're all sitting, even if we're not necessarily working, but we're working, we're sitting at home, we're on the computer. We really need to prevent, back pain, prevent all these cardiovascular issues, even brain issues, right? One of the best brain health prevention strategies is movement, right? Right. So this is a really important topic. So yeah, definitely looking forward to having you come out to our office for sure. And yeah, love to chat more about this. But thank you so much, and we will talk to you again soon.
Awesome. Yeah, I had a blast. Thanks so much for the opportunity. And again, the biggest thing is if we're working from home, please, if you're going to continue to work from home, get a designated station. All right, get a desk, get a chair. Stop. Don't just try to make something happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like don't just work from your couch, work from your bed or just somewhere that's really quick and makeshift. Now, if you just want to open your laptop for a quick second in bed and for an hour and do some work, that's not an issue. But if you're going to work 8 hours day to day to day to day, then you probably want to get a designated station that you can work from. You will notice a big difference.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Gotta look for that myself. So thank you so much, Emil,
Thanks
and
so
we'll
much.
talk to you again soon. Good to see
Excellent.
everyone.
Thanks
All right,
everyone.
see you then.
See you.